Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I'm Kathy. I wanted to do a short video about something that happened to me the other day. And since there's a lot of talk about the rapture right now, and I did a video maybe 2 weeks ago about September 23rd and 24th being high watch days, and everyone was saying, a lot of prophecy watchers and end times channels were pointing towards those days. So today is September 26th, 2025. So those days have passed, but I have an update on that I'll talk about towards the end. But I wanted to tell you guys about this thing that happened the other day. I can't remember if it was on the 23rd in the evening or something. A friend of mine messaged me. We haven't been friends for that long, so I don't know her super well, but she messaged me and said, did the rapture happen? And, I don't know her beliefs or anything, and I mean, we've probably only been friends this year, 2025, and I said, no, but I'm waiting. And I said, it would have been all over the news, a worldwide event, a huge news story. And that's probably the understatement of all time, because people have done videos about, when the rapture happens, this is what's, cars are going to crash, planes are going to fall out of the sky, because all the Christians who believe on Jesus as their Lord and Savior will vanish in an instant. So, and I think about it all the time. If I'm driving my car and I vanish, my car's just going to keep going and eventually crash into something. And so that will be going on all over the world. And, trains will be crashing, all those things. So, not to focus on the negative, because it will be a wonderful, incredible, unbelievable event for Christians. And that will be, meeting Jesus face to face, seeing all of our saved family members and friends, and who have already passed. Excuse me. And so, and just leaving this wicked world. But I was so surprised that she asked me that. And so I saw her the next morning, and I let her bring it up, because I when we were messaging, I said, I won't be preachy, no one likes that. And, before I was an official Christian, I could not stand it when people were preachy to me. And you can check out my testimony video where I talk about that if you want to. But I just said, people who follow Jesus, they will be in the rapture. They will be taken. And I said, are you a Christian? Because I don't know. And I think it was a couple hours later, she replied, and she might be. she said, I won't go into all that, but she was raised in a certain Christian congregation, but it was an offshoot of Christianity. So, God only knows our hearts. And so, I just said, well, anyone who follows Jesus, they'll be taken. And she said, a friend of hers messaged her and said, oh my gosh, the rapture just happened. And my friend was like, well, I'm still here, I'm still on earth. And she thought, let me message Kathy. She's a Christian, and if she's gone, then but she said, let me see if she's still here. So that's when she messaged me. But And I know a lot of churches, if you look online, if you talk to people, if you go to, if you're looking for a new church and you go check out different ones, a lot of churches, maybe even most of them, do not talk about the end times and the final days and Jesus coming and the rapture happening and all of that. So, and people have said it's probably because, they don't want to scare people away, or they might not believe. They might believe in a post-tribulation rapture, where the rapture happens after the 7-year tribulation. Personally, I believe in the pre-tribulation rapture, and you can do all your own research on that, or check out my other video I did on the rapture happening September, 23rd, 24th as a possible date. But yeah, so a lot of people don't know about it. A lot of people are scared of it. And I think it goes back to the book of Revelation, where people are intimidated by it, overwhelmed by the book of Revelation, which I used to be. And I did if you want to check out a playlist on the most popular verses in the book of Revelation, you can check that out. But yeah, it's full of imagery and information and prophecy and end times, all that stuff. And a lot of churches don't want to go dive into that. And a lot of people don't want to dive into that. I know people who, if you mention the rapture happening, it will happen someday. Or if you mention that, we're in the end times, things are moving, with AI, this, that, and the other thing, wickedness all around us, all the things, like Jesus says in Matthew 24. I know people who get so upset and anxious and worried and depressed, and I mean, I kind of understand it, because maybe, if you don't know a lot about it, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to leave all my things and my job. And it's like, yeah, so we'll be with Jesus. You don't have to worry about rent and bills and putting gas in your car and all that stuff. But yes, so I've learned that a few people I know to not even talk about the rapture or bring it up, because they get very upset, and it's their personal stuff that they yeah. But so yeah, that blew me away when she asked me that. And since then we've talked, and she said, she wants to get back into studying the Bible daily and lots of things, which is great. So so on the other side of that, and let me know if you guys if anyone's ever said anything, or if you've thought it yourself. I mean, it's crossed my mind, but I'm like, no, I will be gone if that happens, or when that happens. So, yeah, I'm just wondering what other people think and feel about that, or if people just don't really talk about it, think about it. I watch a lot of end times channels, prophecy channels on YouTube, so that is often in my feed, which I mentioned in my Rapture video that I just did. I recommended, I don't know, 5 or 7 different channels to definitely check out if you're interested in that. So here's the update that came out. Okay, so September 23rd and 24th passed, which that was considered the Feast of Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah, if I'm saying it right, Yom Teruah. It has a few different names. I think that one's right too. It's the first day of the year on the Jewish calendar. So, it's a huge feast and celebration. It's like 3 days. And yeah, they blow the trumpets, and So that all happened, and, you know, the watching community, and Jesus says, you know, it says several places in the Bible to watch for his coming and his return, and those will be blessed that are watching and waiting for him and looking up. So I consider myself part of that group. But so those days passed, and then some videos came out. Some of the prophecy watchers are like, well, okay, let's, you know, keep looking, watching, waiting, hoping, praying, sharing the gospel. And one video I recommended him, it's Devin New Brower, but Devin and then Neu, I think it's Barger. But I think if you start typing it in, it'll pop up. But he came out with one, and he has some videos that he did just recently that really got my attention, and I refer to him in my Rapture video. Yeah, just amazing. So he said, and other people have said too, that I have seen since watching him, that yes, those days have passed, but we are on the Gregorian calendar. And, you know, you can research all that. There's different calendars. There's also the Jewish calendar. I think they're on 5786, if I remember right, the year 5786. We're obviously in 2025. So on the Gregorian calendar, but if you look at the Julian calendar, which I don't know anything about, but people have been talking about it, and supposedly that's the calendar that was in place when Jesus was on earth. And again, I don't know much other than what other people are saying, so I haven't researched it myself. But I have heard, yeah, there's a Gregorian calendar, there's a Julian calendar. But anyways, the Julian calendar, the dates of September 23rd, 24th are actually on our calendar, October, it's either 6th and 7th or 7th and 8th. So yeah, keep that in mind. And that lines up with a full moon, and many, I think all except one of God's feasts, the Jewish feasts, land on a full moon. So, and it's set up like that. Like God will say, you know, a lot of them are lined out in Leviticus, I think it is, you know, this feast will be on the 15th day of the 3rd month. So the 15th day of any month is, because they start from, you know, the tiny crescent is day 1 after, you know, there's no moon in the sky for 3 days. So the 15th day would be when it gets to being a full moon. And yeah, that's when most of the feasts are, maybe even all of them. But that makes sense, because if October 6th, 7th, 8th, I can't remember. I know 7th for sure, but I can't remember if it's the 6th, 7th, 8th. But that is a full moon. And so that got my attention also. So yeah, if anyone, you know, if people are watching, wanting to watch and all that stuff, do more research, learn more about it, then yeah, that's why I'm putting this out there. So, well, I thought this was going to be just like a 3-minute video, and we're going on 14 minutes right now. But yeah, I just wanted to share those 2 things with everyone. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, I think it's pretty exciting. But I could go on and on and on, as you see. But okay, I hope everyone's having a great day, and I'll see y'all in the next video. All right, God bless.